What's a secret you'll never tell your partner but are willing to tell strangers on Reddit? When I was 14, my grandma passed away. For years, I had been bothering my parents for my own gold necklace. Well, Grandma had a little bit of money, and she gave me the $300 for a gold necklace in her will. It was my pride and joy. I had it around my neck for 17 years before I met my wife. It was off my neck maybe 3 times in those 17 years. My wife knew how much it meant to me and asked to wear it once. Well, it never came home. She had lost it somewhere, or it had gotten stolen. I was distraught like crazy for 3 or 4 days while we turned our house upside down looking for it. Inevitably, I gave up, but she was very bothered by it all. So, I decided to go to a pawn shop and buy the closest I could get to an exact duplicate, and then I told her that I had found the necklace in the couch cushions. To this day, she thinks that I found my necklace from my grandmother, but this is actually version 2. Whenever she's not home, I let the dog onto the bed and take a really comfy nap. I set an alarm for an hour and kick the dog off and clean the fur off before she ever gets home. I've been doing this for nearly 3 years now. My husband loves talkative cats. When we first got our kittens, I gave them a treat every time they made a meow or chirp. Since I was working from home, they ended up becoming very vocal. He still goes on about how lucky we are to have such talkative cats on a weekly basis. The one time when she and me first got together, and she spent the night, I made it very clear I wanted her to leave in the morning. She was uncomfortable and brought it up later because of my behavior. I'll never tell her it's because since I only had one bathroom at the apartment, and she was on the toilet that morning forever and my ass runs on its own schedule, I had to poop in a small trash can on the back patio area I had. I had a high fence so no one could see, but there was a mess I needed to clean, both outside and on myself. But of course, when she's out of the bathroom she has no idea and is asking about breakfast or whatever while I'm covered in poo. After she left, I tossed my clothes and the trash can in the dumpster and took a long shower. And she also doesn't know that's the reason I've insisted any apartment we live in has 2 bathrooms. We've lived in 4 apartments together, and everyone has had 2 bathrooms because I'm not doing that again. My wife pooped while delivering our son. Something she was terrified she would do. The nurse cleaned up very quickly and gave me a look that needed no explanation. I never said a word. She talked after delivery about how happy she was that didn't happen to her. I'll let her keep that peace of mind for life. The reason I wasn't hungry that one day in Dublin was because when I stayed behind to get ready while she waited in the lobby, I ate the entire box of leftover chicken wings that we took home from the restaurant the day before. I ate 15 cold, oily chicken wings in about 5 minutes at 9 a.m. before heading out for breakfast. The time I had intercourse with a snowman in a ditch behind my house. Though it was innocent, it's not something I would talk about with anyone except the thousands of Redditors and millions of people who saw the story I posted here that someone put on YouTube. Anyway, I guess I could tell it again. So, I believe it was March 1993 and a huge blizzard swept the East Coast. I was young, bored and extremely horny. I didn't know then what exactly it was that I was feeling but knew that it was normal for my age. Well, we were out of school for what must have been 3 weeks but felt like an eternity. I wasn't around anyone my age, there were no girls in my neighborhood and obviously no internet for browsing of a certain kind, but even if there was, I would definitely be too afraid to attempt it. One evening before dark, I decided enough was enough and I couldn't handle the urge anymore. I had been holding back for weeks because I was too embarrassed to do anything in the bathroom. The guilt and anxiety of someone catching me was too much. My room wasn't an option because the door didn't lock, and when my door was shut someone would ask why or just open it. It was far too risky, and I couldn't jeopardize my reputation of being the only normal one in my family. I threw on my snow clothes and scuttled off into the wilderness behind my house with a plan. I wasn't sure I would actually do it, but I wasn't exactly thinking straight either, for obvious reasons. Once I arrived at my destination, I decided to slide down into a gully that was about 15 feet deep. I sat there for a few minutes and listened for footsteps in case someone saw me, but it was silent, completely silent, where I could almost hear my inner voice say, "Don't do it, man. This is the moment of no return," I told myself. I was like a runaway train never going back, wrong way on a one-way track. Anyway, I got to work and started shaping Snow into a female body. She had boobs, curves and the necessary inlet. I unzipped and went ahead with the task that lay before me, and within a minute, or so it was all over. A few seconds of guilt and shame overcame me as I zipped up and erased the evidence. I crawled out of the gully back through the woods to my house. I went to my room and tried my best to forget her, but to my surprise that would be impossible, and every time it snows, I still think of her. Our cat didn't break the towel rack. I did. I was pretending to be fighting zombies and grabbed it and ripped the goddamn thing off the wall. I heard her coming to check out the noise and looked down at my cat. She came into the bathroom to me asking my cat, "Why did you think the towel rack could hold your weight? You silly cat." I never paid for her engagement ring. I went to a custom jeweler to have her ring made. It's a beautiful piece, and she loves it dearly, and it certainly wasn't cheap, appraised and insured for around $10,000. The jeweler was dealing with a lot of family issues at the time and was incredibly disorganized. I went to pick up the ring and brought my checkbook to pay for it, and when she handed me the ring, I took it out and asked her who to make the check out to. She said, "Oh no, don't worry about it right now, just send me a check in the mail." I thought that was strange, but sure, okay. She then hurried off to help another customer and I left. But she never told me what the final price was. For the next 6 months, I texted and called the jeweler asking, "Hey, just tell me what amount to put, and I'll mail you the check." And there was always a reason she couldn't tell me. "Oh, sorry, I'm out right now, I'll find it and text you later." Her shop was a few hours away from where I live, so it wasn't feasible to stop by and handle it in person. I tried for 6 months, but after that I stopped calling or texting and just figured I got the ring for free. I wouldn't tell my spouse, because I don't want her to think I took advantage of the situation or that somehow the ring isn't as meaningful because I didn't pay for it. That she killed a cat. She's very much a cat person. Once she picks me up from a friend's house and driving through town, a cat ran in front of us and we heard a thud underneath the car. She screamed and looked in the rearview mirror and we see the cat stagger into a driveway. She was very upset and convinced she killed it. I told her, "No, the cat clearly ran across the street and is probably fine." She was meeting some friends and I was taking the car home, so she asked me if I would check the driveway of that house on my way home to make sure the cat was okay. I said I would. I drove back that way and parked a few houses down and looked in the driveways, and there it was, lying motionless, sprawled out on the ground. Part of me was thinking just go home and say you seen it happily licking itself, but curiosity got the better of me. I wanted to check to make sure it was still living. The problem was it was a gated house, so I didn't want to just wander in on someone else's property, so I rang the phone number on the sign at the side of the road. By this stage I'm thinking, what the hell are you at? You should have been home long ago. But I was on autopilot and just went with it. The owner answers and I tell him there's a possibility dead cat in your drive. Do you mind if I come in just to check it's okay? The guy is like, "Yes, I guess, it's just I'm out of town and there's no one here, but it's fine if you want to let yourself in the side gate." He also says thanks, so at this point I must do it. I'm too far in now. I let myself in and walk over and there she is, a big dead cat. Oh balls, well I'll just tell my wife the cat wasn't there, and we can forget about the whole thing, except the owner now knows there could be a dead cat on his property. And when he gets home and sees it lying there, he's got my number and will know I just left it there. So now I must make a decision. Do I leave this dead cat here or do I take it away, and if I do, what do I do with it? Across the street is a store, so I walk over and buy bin bags and rubber gloves, make my way back over and scoop the fluffy corpse into a bin bag. Now I got a dead cat in a bag. I walk over to my car carrying this black bin bag. People are walking past me on the street, smiling and giving that upwards nod that strangers give. I give a nod back, but I'm not fully into it because they don't know I'm walking past them with a dead cat in a bin bag. I don't feel like taking it into my car because, it's a dead cat. So I Google vets and there happens to be one not too far away, walking distance. I ring and ask them do they dispose of dead pets. They said they do. So I make my way down there and through the front door and ask the receptionist, was I just talking to them about pet disposal? She looks at me slightly freaked and says yes. I produce the bag and say, oh well, I have a cat here, and can I just give it to her? She's like, yes, you just leave it at our back door back outside, and charges me $50. I walk back to the car, and sat there for at least half an hour, in silence and as still as a dead cat, trying to process the last hour of my life. I text my wife and say, no honey, couldn't find the cat, she must be fine and ran off somewhere safe, see you at home. That he legit saved my life. He is a nervous, humble guy who doesn't like undue pressure or praise, so I keep it to myself just how bad off I was before he showed up. Because even in the aftermath of my mom's death and even in the face of some pretty nasty health problems, I was very good at smiling and being charming. 3 years of taking care of a terminally ill parent taught me how to smile and bear it, and feign positivity even when you're running on empty. And I never felt like I could be anything other than the fixer, the person who always knows what to say, the reliable one, the one who has every answer and can make bad feelings go away by just fixing the problem for you. I was not allowed to be negative, ever. But he legit came in and helped me with mom's estate and cheerleaded me into getting out of a dead-end career and put a stake in the heart of some severely toxic relationships I had, and even helped me budget so I could finally afford health insurance, which wasn't a moment too soon, because I caught something right in the nick of time. And he just kind of did it. In his mind it was nothing much because you were on the right track, but you had a lot on your plate and needed help. And I just nod and agree because what else do I say? I actually wasn't. I was just going to let myself die because I was exhausted and miserable, smiles aside. Thanks for intervening. That the thing that made me realize that I was in love with her is when I was taking a shower and got done, I walked into the room and she must not have heard me get out. She was laying on her side on the bed with her eyes closed, and she was picking her nose. I didn't want to embarrass her, so I stepped back out and from a distance asked where I set my clean clothes as I was walking back in, to make it seem like I was just coming in. She was visibly startled and quickly stopped but continued to lay there with her eyes closed. I pretended that I saw nothing, but I couldn't help but smile. It was such an innocent and human moment. I have no idea why, but it made me realize right then and there that I loved everything about her. As silly as that moment was, there was a beauty in it, and I cherished that memory.